like
All
a
right,
big.
we're live. If you guys check out the link on Twitter that I just tweeted out, you can see the chat. Anyone who's in there, you can see the video live. It's gonna be starting soon. Introductions real quick, and then the interview. Hey guys, if you can, just go on and retweet the video. Let's get some people in here, if anyone's around.
Okay, hang on a second here.
This is an awkward time of day for most people who are probably working. So I don't expect much live viewers, if any at all. We'll be cutting all this out anyway.
Live video chat available. How about that?
It's the YouTube itself. So if you go to the YouTube account that I just shared, YouTube link, I mean.
Yeah, I've got the link.
Yeah, there should be a chat on the side.
Live video now. There. Let's do that.
Okay. I had to switch my mouse real quick. All right.
Oh shit!
What the hell just happened to that? Something just posted for me. That's weird.
Maybe it was me. I've hacked your account.
There's like some Arabic stuff. I don't like that. You hacking? You hacking over there?
Yeah.
All right. So 1 minute, just before we get started.
That's next. It was me. I've hacked your account.
You got into it? Yeah. Okay. So you hacking over there?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this. All right. So this is where we're gonna start. And you guys, I'm going to put on video like here. If you see I'm switching back and forth, so I could do whatever I want with the videos. So I'm going to leave it right now for whoever's talking. Well, the video will go to. So guys, this is xBenJamminx. I'd go by Benjamin, and I am here with George and Eddy of DFSGold.com. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Eddie Clyde, and this is George Hearn. We're co-founders of DFSGold.com, and we're happy to be here with you, Ben.
Thanks a lot. And guys, what we'll be doing today is we're going to be giving a brief interview about what they've done in the past, maybe some of their experience in DFS or work, and why they are doing DFS Gold and creating it, and all the different benefits of the website, because there's so many different things on there, and I've only scratched the surface of it. So I'd like to dig a little deeper into it. And I felt like the best way to do that is to have the guys on themselves. So let's get into it. And guys, if you can, just please give me some past history about yourselves, maybe some in how you translate it into whatever work careers you're in, and how that helps you with the website that you're building now.
Well, we have different backgrounds. So my background, I've been in gaming since 2001, starting with online casino, moving into poker. I was a co-founder of Bluff Magazine and Bluff Media, which ultimately was acquired by Churchill Downs in 2012. And I've come out the back end of that. And we saw daily fantasy exploding, and that it was a good opportunity that kind of made sense for us to move into. It's very similar to poker from an audience perspective, and a lot of what we did in poker translates well to DFS. And quite honestly, we've been playing this for a while now, and we're junkies, and we enjoy doing it.
Nice.
George has a little bit of a different background.
I'd like to hear
I've
about
just been in several businesses, investments, so do well with the books, social media, things like that. And Eddie and I've been really good friends for a long time. So was welcome to have the opportunity to work with these guys and do what we can with DFS, and things are going well as planned.
Great. So, if you can, I'd like to hear a bit more about Bluff Magazine. Eddie, can you tell me just a little bit about what it is, or what it did for the industry, and how it helped players?
Yeah, look, we founded Bluff Magazine back in 2004. It was right at the beginning of the poker boom, what I like to call poker mania, and very quickly became the largest poker publication in the world. We were publishing 250,000 copies of the magazine monthly. Yeah, it was just poker was crazy until about October 2006, when UIGEA went through and kind of put a damper on things. But we ran Bluff for 12 years. Published a magazine, the website, another website called the Poker DB, which provided information on players based on their online results, kind of similar to what we're doing right now in DFS. We also published Fight Magazine as well, which we started in 2007, which focused on mixed martial arts, MMA. Oh, and did a lot of cool things in poker. We did live broadcasts of final tables from the World Series of Poker with hole cards. It was a great experience, and the genesis behind it was just our passion for poker. We were huge poker players, and wanted to do something that we enjoyed, and covering the world of poker was it wasn't really work. It was fun. Like I mentioned earlier, we were acquired back in 2012 by Churchill Downs, and we're coming out the back end of that, and looking for the next opportunity. And to us, daily fantasy is very similar to poker. We love doing it, and it's exploding. And regardless of the current legislative environment, DFS is not going anywhere.
Right, and I actually believe that as well. I think that if there are any kinds of legislation that will be created, it will be for legislation. It'll be for regulation. So I don't think they're going to be trying to ban it. I think they're going to be trying to regulate and tax it, just like everything else, because they know that it's not bad. It's something that a lot of people love to do, and I think it's going to be around for a while. So I'd like to ask, because I love the website dfsgold.com. I found it just looking around Google for different types of websites, and what I found was it gave me information on who was or was not playing, and when the types of data that you can get from different players and how they would play when other players weren't playing. So it's we have NBA Wowie that people use, but I feel like DFS Gold is a lot better because it shows you when players are actually out, and NBA Wowie is when they're just off the floor. So if you're going to be looking at different things, it's always good to look at different sources. And so I found myself on DFS Gold, but I found myself really looking through the website and seeing that's not all they offered. They show you reports on who did well the night before in terms of what players made money, and they show you the best lineups from the night before. So there's all different kinds of things, and I'd really love to go into it. But what I'd like to ask is, what made you want to create this type of website? And if you can maybe elaborate on what are your favorite aspects of the website, and then we'll jump right into showing people the website and really going through it.
Well, a lot of what we're doing here is based on what we did for poker. We spent 12 years developing products and data-driven value for poker players, and so we're translating a lot of that into DFS. Now, our primary mission here, what drives our development roadmap, is we want to develop tools that are going to help ourselves win. I mean, ultimately, ultimately, we are learning as our audience is learning. And so this all started with us going back and tracking the play of some well-known pros, trying to figure out what they were doing to win consistently. And as we figured things out, we create the tools that we would want to use to create our lineups, and then we essentially share it with everybody else. And that's kind of what guides us. is we dream of being successful DFS players as well. So.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes a ton of sense. So why not, give out what you were creating for yourself? And of course, we know that websites, there's so many different types of websites giving out so many different types of information, but the data that you guys have is unlike anything I've seen anywhere else. So I'm not sure, how you guys get data that other people don't have, but whatever it is, I don't care. I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be sharing it. I have no problem with it because I'm not going to find it anywhere else. And if I see it pop up anywhere else, I know where it originated. So let's get into some of the things that you have on your site that we just don't see anywhere else. So if you can, maybe just give me a little brief explanation of what differentiates you from other sites that give out information.
Well, the primary differentiator, Ben, is the data that we have. So we do aggregate results data from major DFS sites, particularly DraftKings, FanDuel. We are looking to integrate some other sites as well, and we use that data to create statistics, rankings, player pages, be able to show winning lineups, be able to show what we call player density. Probably not the best term for it, but which shows if you want to look at a professional player, one of your friends, and see who they played last night, you can look it up. And so it allows the average user to see what the pros are doing and who they're choosing. And so it's this data, as far as we know, isn't available anywhere else. And look, I mean, there are different ways to get this data, and we have an innovative approach because we've been doing this for a long time, and it's not what most people think it is. We aggregate the data from major tournaments. There's too much data to aggregate. If we wanted to aggregate all of the data, we just can't do it. But for the most part, the major DFS tournaments that take place on DraftKings and FanDuel provide us with a pretty good snapshot of what's going on out there, who the best players are, and what they're doing.
Right. So I like that, and that's how I gravitated to your site in the beginning. And I'm showing people the website, just kind of scrolling through it. And so what I'd like to do right now is jump into this and maybe have you share your screen and just lead us through the site and show us some of the more important parts, maybe what you like the best, how we could best use the site, because there's so much information, and it seems like it's going to be hard for me to kind of sift through it all myself because there is so much incredible stuff there. So if you can share your screen, and then we'll follow along with you and see what you guys like best.
Very good.
All right.
All right.
So we're locked and loaded on your screen. Can you do me a favor? Just go to the Google Hangout and make sure it just says sharing the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, the other tab that you were on. Okay, good. We're good to go.
Very good. So our data falls into two separate categories here. We have the data that is results driven, where you can see how players have done, how good they are, and who they played, and what the best lineup was, and so forth. And then we have data that helps players create more competitive lineups. So let's go into the data for players first of all. In fact, I'm just going to pull myself up here, and everybody can. Oh, you want to do Piano Club? Let's do Piano Club. Okay, so I'm going to search for a DFS player.
This is one of the top players, Piano Club.
So far, we have someone in the chat that says DFS Gold is better than NBA WOWY, and then we have someone that says, I love the do not play analysis.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. It's we didn't anticipate how popular that would be. We just wanted to see it for ourselves. And so so I got Piano Club right here, and this is something that we're actually launching. It's showing up right here on the search results, but a player of the year, and Piano Club right now is ranked second. You can kind of see an overview here, second NBA ranks and 10th in MLB. And if I click into his player page, I can see the top caches by sport. I can see their player ranking. I can see if they've gone up or down since the last time we ran it. And if we wait 1 second here, we'll be able to see which players he was playing here recently. So Piano Club, obviously one of the top players, if not the best player right now for NBA. We have him ranked second. But so I'm going to go into the crossover here, view density. And it's essentially going to aggregate all of his lineups, which it looks like he didn't play that many lineups last night.
In that tournament.
Yeah, in this tournament. Yeah. And I can see which players he's picking. And so this is always interesting to us to try and figure out what the pros are doing and why they're picking players. Let me pull up the sharpshooter. Maybe he has more lineups than that.
All right, so let me interject here real quick. I think there's an important distinction to be made here. All right, so on Roto Grinders, we have the tournament player of the year on there and all that kind of stuff, and that gets a lot of publicity. I don't see Piano Club ever in the top 2 up there or anything like that. So that is what I think based on the amount played. Is yours based on the amount won?
Yeah, no, it's very similar to the rankings that we've done in the past for poker. We have the Bluff ESPN poker player rankings and for MMA. And so certainly you have to control for volume. Otherwise, it's not going to be much of a contest. And so we have a mechanism that controls for volume, but there is no real correlation. Well, there's somewhat of a correlation, but it's not a heavy correlation between rankings and winnings. We're trying to avoid that. At some point, when we're comfortable with the ranking system, we'll probably release what the methodology is, but we do control for volume. And it was the same thing we saw in poker, too. I mean, you can't just have the guy who played the most poker tournaments be the best player. And so we have kind of an innovative approach. It seems to be working for us so far, but we'll see as it goes.
All right, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I know people really focus on that tournament player of the year on Roto Grinders as a gauge of who is the best player at the time. So
yeah.
All right, so let's continue through there. What do we got?
Well, I was just going to bring back up the player density here because this was kind of interesting for last night. I mean, obviously Brandon Jennings was kind of a no-brainer, but looks like Piano Club went really big on Ish Smith, which I find interesting, and we'll probably go back and try and figure out why. It looks like he had about 15 lineups, well, maybe 16, because he had Cousins and Noel and actually we can figure out he had 25 lineups.
Right.
So you can go through and see who they're picking, and over the course of time, you can spot trends in this and hopefully dissect what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to be going through this. This is something that I actually didn't even know was there. I'm glad that I see it now because this is very interesting, and I think it's a much easier way than going through, recent history of contests and trying to just look at lineups and decipher maybe what this player did or why other people picked him. But now we could see the exact exposure of every lineup that they put in any contest. So that's incredible. And now we could see, I'm sure there are different exposures on different contests.
That's right. And this is George. One thing good for the new beginner players to study these guys is to go through this density report, and you see a guy and you're like, well, why did he pick him? Go back to our cheat sheet to that day and look through the cheat sheet and see what is it he's seeing. Is it because the DVP was good? Is it because his last 4? What made him pick that?
Yeah, you could back test that on yeah, if you scroll up, could you go to the cheat sheet and just say what you were talking? So let's say, March 14th, we wanted to go look at what was the slate for that day. What was it looking like? So what we would do is just go to Daily Fantasy Cheat Sheet and look at the different dates wherever we wanted to go. You could sort it by team. You could sort it by position. And while we're on here, why don't you give us a little overview of the cheat sheets, because these things are incredible.
Sure. It's actually, I just went back to the 15th because that was the date of the contest we were just looking at for Piano Club. But you know, actually, let's go for today here. It's always more interesting when you're looking at real data that you're interested in for the present.
For anybody watching this live, you could check out exactly how we would be looking at this cheat sheet for today.
Yeah, so the cheat sheet, what the idea behind the cheat sheet was to provide a snapshot of the day with as much of the information that you really wanted to see all on one page. You know, obviously, Ben, you're a big DFS player. It becomes a little bit of a burden when you have to jump around to like 4 different pages and remember what the data is, or cut and paste it into a spreadsheet, or whatever you're trying to do. And so this is kind of a snapshot on one page for today. And obviously, you know, we have the player, the position, the salary, the team, who they're playing. Provide some of the important metrics that people like to see: pace, DVP. Our DVP, something we added a couple of weeks ago, was home and away DVP.
Wow.
Not entirely sure which one of these is better to use yet, but the home and away DVP actually breaks down DVP by home games and away games. And you will see some anomalies there that don't seem to make sense, like a guy that plays better on the road than he does at home, although we can probably all speculate as to possible scenarios as to why. But average points for the season, the last 4 versus opponent, the average minutes for the season and last 4, and then we show the last 4 games that they've played. These are all color coded, and the color coding is based on the average points to win and to cash in a GPP. So right now we're on the DraftKings cheat sheet, and so the light green indicates that based on his salary, those are enough points for you to cash. Based on what an average cash rate is on a GPP on DraftKings, and the dark green would be to win.
Stevenson right there. It says plus 7.7. So does that mean that Milwaukee at that position is worse when they play at home?
This is going to be Lance Stevenson has a favorable DVP, so it's essentially saying that Memphis gives up 7.7% more fantasy points per minute played on the road. Is what it's saying. Yeah, for a small forward. So this is a positive for Lance Stevenson, is what it is.
So Milwaukee, when they it's for Memphis. So when Memphis is on the road, is you're saying, or is it Milwaukee at home?
It's Memphis on the road. So essentially, the DVP applies to the player. So Lance Stevenson has a favorable matchup at home versus Memphis tonight based on defense versus position. Now, you know, so 7.7%, that's pretty decent. It's all relative. It's very similar to what the overall DVP for the season has been versus that position. One note on DVP, we spent a lot of time drilling down on the stats. DVP it's a very difficult thing to measure, just given the ambiguity in positions for certain players, specifically for, you know, shooting guards, small forwards, and power forwards. I mean,
and help defense and pick and rolls and switching.
Exactly. Now, you know, we've done regression testing. DVP is a significant predictor, but it's a little bit fuzzy just because you know, you don't really know who's covering who in the game, what the game plan is. And you know, okay, yeah, Draymond Green can be listed as a power forward, but you know, Golden State really plays 2 small forwards. You know, it's so it's a little bit difficult to interpret at times. And in fact, DVP is probably more accurate for point guards and centers than any other position. You know, obviously Lance Stevenson, Memphis, with their situation, I mean, they're running the offense through him, and you know, it's he might as well be point guard, you know. So, but for right now,
I'd like to make a, you know, I love the cheat sheet, but if I could make a request about maybe something that I'd like to see in the future.
Yes.
If you had Along with the pace, if you had the usage of a player for their team, and also if, you know, next to the last 4 games, if you had, you know, how you have the average minutes for the season and the average fantasy points for the season, and the last 4 games, if you can have some kind of, I call it like a regression statistic, but, you know, the season average maybe minus the last 4 game average, which could kind of show you if they're performing above how they statistically have been all season or below, which can kind of show you some form of regression over the course of the season. Maybe not, you know, immediately, but it could show you a little bit kind of like a predictor of how they'll perform coming forward, depending on the role.
100%. And, you know, look, a lot of this is just space constraints, but we are looking to constantly improve the product. You know, one thing we'd like to do is control for DVP when we're showing the last 4. You know, it's if somebody had a plus 10% matchup, you know, if you control for DVP, how are they doing? So
like
there's a lot of things that we can do. We have gotten the request for usage, and we'll probably wind up adding that.
Okay. I think that's
important. We're at the NBA season, though. We're already starting to look forward to I think I mentioned earlier outside of this interview that we're launching our NASCAR optimizer this weekend, but also looking forward to baseball. And so how much additional functionality we get out for NBA is still up in the air, just given the fact that, you know, baseball starts here in a couple of weeks.
The season's basically over, and I feel like personally people need the most help when it comes to baseball. So that's actually where we're going to be having our focus as well.
Yeah.
But, okay, if we can move on to maybe the did not play analysis. I think that's one of the most important parts.
I want to show you one thing, Ben, before we do that, just so everyone will know. Anytime you're on any of our cheat sheets or anywhere, you see the 2 arrows over a home away, you can sort by that. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. So see, that'll bring up, now you see the top DVP matchups.
Yeah. And also what we have there is if you click on the little green person to the left of their names, you add them to your own little personal cheat sheet and or optimizer that they have.
There you go.
That is correct. And I will add some here shortly. Let me just take control here. So as far as the did not play pages, I mean, you can access them. You know, look, if somebody has an out or GTD designation on the cheat sheet, you can go straight to their did not play page. I'm going to go here for Paul Gasol.
And guys, pay attention. This is one of the most important parts of the site right here.
This is pretty cool. Although the Paul Gasol being out, gosh, Chicago has so many injuries right now. It's probably not as useful for Paul Gasol here. But what we essentially, whoops, I accidentally clicked the wrap. It's okay.
Just go right back to it.
There we go. So as you can see, this season so far, Paul Gasol's missed 5 games. You can see how many fantasy points the team generates with and without him. We can go and see how the defense versus position is impacted. This impact lots of times is pretty screwy, and it has to do with the small sample size, although 5 games is okay, relatively speaking.
But that's significant right there. To 10 points per game they're losing over 5 games. That means other players on that team are losing assists, they're losing points, you know, so that's definitely something to monitor.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's you lose an impact player like Paul Gasol, it's everybody feels it. Now, the real interesting thing is looking at how players on the team do when Paul Gasol is not in. And so if we look for the green here, we can see the primary beneficiaries are Joakim Noah, who's also out right now, Bobby Portis, Doug McDermott, and you can see the average fantasy points scored in games with and without Paul Gasol in the lineup. And you can see the average minutes played with and without Paul Gasol in the lineup. And then also the last 4 games, because, you know, how they compensated for Paul Gasol not being in the lineup early in the season may be different than how they're compensating for him now. So we like to show the recent performance. So recently, at least, it looks like Doug McDermott is a beneficiary for sure. Yeah, and you know, Taj Gibson too. If he didn't get hurt again, I mean, obviously he had the 35-point game there on the 14th. Is a beneficiary as well. So this is it's really useful information. It's not something that you can just plug into a formula and say, let me just feed this data straight into the optimizer. It really has to be looked at and interpreted more than anything. But
Eddie, let me ask you something. Is there any way that you can make it so here, actually turn that echo on the YouTube. But so is there any way that you can make it so, you know, I could look at with Pau Gasol and Mirotic out tonight or something, like where you could group multiple players together? Is that something the data can handle?
Yeah, no, we can do that. In fact, we talked about that yesterday and decided not to mess with it probably until next season. So sorry. Okay. Ultimately, I think what we'll do is have check boxes where you can, you know, check players to be out, and it'll look for games that were missing all of those players. And so that's really useful. I know it's, but you know, there's not a ton of games. So it'd be a small sample size, but you know, it's nice to see, hey, you know, Derrick Rose and Paul Gasol are out. Jimmy Butler scored, you know, 83 fantasy points versus Philadelphia. You know, hey, this might be something to look at. So
and it's also important because you can actually go back on that day, look at the cheat sheet, and see what his matchup was, or maybe what he had been doing around that time, so you could back test your own theories.
Right. Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and add Doug McDermott to my, we call it the whiteboard, but oops.
I think remember, it doesn't turn red on.
Oh, it doesn't turn red on this page? Well, that's a bug.
Yeah. Had a problem with that.
Let's do this. Let's go back to the cheat sheet. I'm going to add a couple players. So when we get to the optimizer, you can see them. I'm going to add Lance Stevenson.
So I used this for DraftKings the other day, but I don't really play as much DraftKings. Is the FanDuel one functional as well?
The whiteboard, you can save players to your whiteboard for FanDuel, but there's not an optimizer for FanDuel just yet. We may put that out this coming week.
Yeah, no problem.
Once again, it's a question of whether or not we go ahead and move into MLB, or we continue to add functionality to NBA. And so, you know, our development resources, well, development resources are always limited no matter how many people you have. So it is.
You show them how to use the drop down to get to the FanDuel cheat sheet as well.
Yeah, it's. I think that's probably self-explanatory. But yeah, obviously we have, you know, cheat sheets for DraftKings, FanDuel. You can go back any day you want to. You can filter by team to help find players, or by position. You know, save players to your whiteboard, which we will go to in a second. What I want to do, though, since we're talking about did not play page, this is pretty much the first thing I do on a daily basis here is I go to our injury page. And on the injury page, I am looking for injuries, people that may be out that have the little Captain America shield by them. That indicates that they played in their last game. So it means if they're out tonight, the replacement is still going to be minimal value, and it's probably going to be a good play. So if I'm looking here at Mahime, I go to his did not play page for tonight. I can see that the it's the primary beneficiaries here have been Lavoy Allen and Jordan Hill. So those are players that I may want to consider playing, although it looks like Jordan Hill's last two games with him out, you know, weren't all that impressive. But
okay, so let me clarify and go over that again. And if you can, just get rid of the YouTube feedback. All right, so if there's a player that has the captain shield next to his name on the injury report, he
Yes.
was in the most recent game, so he hasn't been out for a while. He's someone that he was just in, so if he misses, the backup will still probably have a low price because he's not someone who would have been recognized as jumping up in minutes yet.
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so it's you know, like I said, it's the first thing that I look at on a daily basis. I am going to go back to the cheat sheet, and I am going to pull up our optimizer.
Do you guys have a any kind of widget or RSS feed or any embed or something that we could put on our website?
We can create one.
That would be awesome. I think a lot of people would enjoy doing that and putting up like a little ticker of DFS Gold, you know.
Yeah, no, it's that's easy enough. It's whether it's you know, RSS feed, XML, API call, whatever works for you guys.
Cool.
We are fine with that. So I'm going to go to and I'm kind of jumping around out of order here, but since we were just at the cheat sheet, I am going to go back to the cheat sheet. I think I clicked it. There we go. Okay, so I've selected a couple of players, Lance Stevenson, and well, that's good for right now. When I'm ready to generate a lineup with our optimizer, I'm going to click Create Lineup. Okay, and what this is going to do is the players that I have selected, that I've flagged, are going to show up at the top so I can find them easily. In our optimizer, we require you to lock 2 players before running the optimizer. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that, you know, it doesn't make any sense to have everybody generate the same lineup and put it in DraftKings.
I like
and
that.
2 is you should be locking a couple of players anyway, because if there's an injury replacement, if somebody is going to do well because of an injury, it's not going to be picked up in our optimizer because we are not going through and making manual adjustments to minutes played and usage based on, you know, who's out today. Our optimizer is based solely on the math. And so if you want to benefit from an injury today, if I wanted to play Jordan Hill because I think he's going to get more minutes, I need to lock Jordan Hill. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Get him in there.
So let's go.
I think that's a great separator from some of the other optimizers that we have out there that give people the same lineup. And, you know, if you're just hitting a default optimized lineup, odds are that, you know, you're just really not going to get what you want out of it. You're going to be sharing lineups with people. Like, you have to have some direction of who you want on your team to use these optimizers. And that's what most pros do, is they have some core of players and then they optimize around that and find all the different deviations that you can make with their core. So I think that's important to differentiate with this kind of optimizer.
Oh, yeah, 100%, 100%. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've selected 2 players. If I want to see who I have, that's who I have: Lance Stevenson, Jordan Hill. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look. Are there any games I want to exclude? You know, lots of times you want to exclude games. You know, if Golden State is playing Memphis, it doesn't make any sense to have any, you know, Golden State, you know, Stephen Curry come up because he's going to play 25 minutes and they're going to be up by 40 at halftime. So let's just say, for the sake of argument here, although I don't think I would actually normally do this, but I'm going to go ahead and exclude San Antonio because they're 12-point favorites, and I feel like there's a risk that the starters get their full allocation of minutes.
Only person I would ever take is Aldridge.
This is also good, excluding teams for like a late.
Wait. That's Aldridge revenge game.
Oh yeah, you're right. So it's I would not exclude him, especially with I think Meyer Leonard is
Aldridge revenge game tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
A real nice thing with this feature here, if you're playing in a late slate and there's only 3 games, you can exclude all the teams except for those 3 games, and then you can optimize for a late slate.
Right. Okay, you can do it by slate like that.
Sure. Yeah. Or if you just wanted all early games because you need a confidence builder and you want to see yourself deep in the money early in the night, then there you go.
Exactly.
So,
Well, honestly, if we could just stop right there, and this is something I actually tell everybody. One of my strategies is I make lineups in a small slate, in like the late slate, and then I'll put that late slate into the main. And the reason for that is because the later games are usually always the highest scoring. They usually have the worst defense, and you usually get a ton of low ownership from them as well because people like to watch the earlier games. So that's never a bad strategy unless, you know, there's 2 games that are both kind of shitty.
yeah, no, that's true. And additionally, on DraftKings, I feel like lots of times you get lower ownership on the late games because people don't want to mess with making sure that their players playing. And so, yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
So our optimizer, you can choose from a couple of different optimization formulas, and we actually, if you're logged in as an admin, we have about 30 of them, and we've back tested about 200 of them, and we're constantly tinkering with them. I'm going to click on the optimizer help page here just to show if you want an explanation of how it's optimizing. We do have the optimization models here. So the one that we've seen the most success with, and what becomes difficult, it's easy to optimize for highest average fantasy points in a lineup. What's a little bit more difficult is optimizing to get the amount of variation that you need to win a GPP. And so the model we've had the most success with actually overweights line points. The number of points a team is expected to score based on the betting lines. And it's a combination of that with DVP, and we look at the last 10 games. If I go back to the optimizer, here I have the matchup standard selected here. I'm going to hit next, and it's going to generate a lineup for me.
Oh man, if we could make one of those criteria, one of those standard things for the God mode that I created, the parameters that I use, I think we can have incredible success with that. If that's something you guys can just create like templates of.
Yeah, no, it's sure we can do that. It's
okay. That's something we have to do. I have to show you the past results of all that stuff that I have, and it's just wild. So
you shoot it over to us. We'll put it in here over the weekend. It's
yeah, right.
It's okay. So this is the lineup that has been created for us. Let me just scroll the screen down here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to look and see if there's anybody that I just absolutely do not want. I don't see anybody like that. But let's just say that I don't want Al Horford. I'm not a big Horford fan right now. You know, they played last night, and he had 42 minutes, and I just do not want him in my lineup. So I'm going to go ahead and X him out, and I can go ahead and run the lineup again, and it'll generate a new lineup, assuming that Al Horford is no longer an option.
And all right, so I know that, you know, NBA season's coming to an end, and as great as this product is, something that I think would be cool to see is, you know, if you did this and you locked it in, if you wanted to lock in, let's say from here, you know, Weber and Giannis, and then you can change what the matchup standard thing is again, like from here, and like change it to, you know, the point guard center thing, and optimize it after this. I think that would be an awesome addition.
That's you're right. Now you can lock players and then go back, and they should remain locked. And if we break something here, it'll be fixed by the time that games come. So yeah, so I can go back, and now I still have the same locked players.
Okay.
And I can, but it would be nice to have it right there, so I don't have to go back. I understand that And let's go PG and C. The thought behind PG and C is that the DVP calculations are way more accurate for point guards and centers, and so it eliminates some of the false positives that you get with some of the other positions. But I'm going to go ahead and run it now here.
And guys, one thing I would like to say for the viewers and everybody who's going to be watching this later is the reason that I have them go into depth like this on the sites is not only just because I want to show how awesome all these things are and promote and everything, but I'm going to be using this like a lot. So I want to know every single aspect of this that I can, and I want to know the best of my ability. And if people ask me how it's used or anything, I explain it, and that's the way I like to learn everything. So I think it's really important to pay attention to not only what they're showing on the screen, but what they're saying about how everything works, so you can go back and do it again yourself. And that's why we do these videos, so you could really get a good understanding of how to use the website. So back to you.
Very good. And so let's say this lineup here, I love this lineup. I'm not worried about the GTD by Hassan Whiteside because I feel confident that he's going to play. I'm just making that up. I actually don't feel confident he's going to play, but let's just say I do. So I'm going to go ahead and save this lineup right here. And then now let's say, okay, now I want one without Whiteside. So I'm going to get rid of Whiteside. I'm going to run it again.
And guys, if anyone has any questions at all, feel free to ask in the chat.
And then I'm going to save this lineup here. I now have Rudy Gobert instead. And now I can save as many lineups as I want, and then I can click here to go view my saved lineups. I can also just simply click on the My Lineups as well to get to it. And you can see it's arranged by date. So if I want to see my saved lineups from the day before, the day before, the day before that, we go back about 4 or 5 days. We might expand that in the future. I got the lineup saved here. It shows the optimization formula that I used, the time that I saved it. So I know, was this a morning lineup or an afternoon lineup?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the players I excluded, the teams that I excluded. And if I want to now for DraftKings, I can simply hit the export NBA lineups, and it's going to export it in a CSV file that's formatted for upload in the DraftKings with their CSV uploader. So especially if I'm looking to upload, 20, 30, 40 lineups, that is a useful tool. Now, me personally, I'm not to the point where I play 40 lineups a night, but Ben, you probably are. So
no. Actually, I'm the complete opposite. I've always played less than 5 lineups every night, and usually around 2 or 3. I've never been one for like really multi lineup entering, but I'm starting to get into GPP play now and thinking contrarian and just going against the grain with things. So I've seen some pretty good success lately with all my value plays and all my pivots and contrarian plays. So I've been trying to share those with people when I do have time for that. And I'm out of school right now. We're on spring break, so I will have time to do a lot more for everybody. But
nice.
I rarely ever play on DraftKings, but today I'm going to put a little money in there and go into the quarter entries and use this optimizer and see what kind of success I can have.
Yeah, it's talking about what kind of success you can have, and this is logged in as George's account, so I don't know what we're going to see here.
It's not going to be good because I haven't been busy.
I can go back to yesterday, and I can see his saved lineups, and it'll show the points that that you would have gotten, and these are not good. These
not
are
at all.
really bad here.
I didn't even play that day.
200, man.
Yeah, that
well, you had
crazy.
Norris Cole.
Eric Gordon didn't play. Norris Cole didn't play. So it looks like you just let it rock.
That was just showing somebody. That was when I was on the phone with the kid, showing him how to use the stuff.
And I will point out that it won't allow you to take a player that's listed as out. We had an error yesterday with Eric Gordon and Mario Chalmers, where since they're no longer on the active roster, they're not showing up with an injury status, and so we had to fix that problem So they normally would not show up. The point is here, though, is you can save as many lineups as you want. You can go back and you can see exactly how they would have done.
Yeah, I love that the values right there next to it.
Yes, exactly. And I'll give you a little tip here. You can, after the games are done tonight, you can go back and you can still generate new lineups, and it'll show you the lineups with the points that they got for tonight. And so you can kind of play with it and see what works and what didn't work. So
I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Back testing.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, Ben, and go to our recap page, which we skipped over. And let's just do this for NBA. I know everything's NBA, even though we got some cool NASCAR stuff right now. I am going to go back because we don't have the daily highlights in for today yet. So let's just look at the 15th. Okay, so what you have here is it'll give you the optimal lineup, the best lineup possible for the night. We have some daily highlights on the right for the day, the top winner, the top scoring lineup, the top scoring player, top offense, worst offense. As you scroll down, you get the contests that we tracked, which will show you the winner of each contest. It'll show you how many points you needed to cash in each contest. And if you click on the fantasy points to win, it'll show you their winning lineup. And if you
click on the player there too, right?
What's that?
You can click on the player there.
Yeah, it looks like you will be by tonight.
No, go to FB points to F points to win. Click on the lineup that you were at. No, before with the crossover. Click on the 352 and then click on Brandon Jennings. What comes up? Isaiah Thomas.
Player page,
Yeah, you can click on the
that's his player page. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's it should open up in a different window, but yeah, you can click on the player if you want to see the player page. I thought you meant the actual winner, which you should be able to click on that too. But let's go down here. I see this guy in the Quarter Arcade played 50 lineups. If I click on, if I want to see, the winner was Rack Lewin, 358 points. I want to see his player density. I can just simply click on the total entries he had in the Quarter Arcade, and it'll pull up all of the he had Brandon Jennings in all 50 lineups. Scroll down, Paul George in 47 of his lineups, and it's the same player density that you can get off the player page. It's just accessible right here from the recap page as well.
I like that. Can you show me what that overlay report is?
Yes. So the overlay report shows historically the overlays in different tournaments. You don't see as many overlays today, and they're not as big as they used to be. If we scroll down, some of these football overlays were pretty significant. I would have to go back in time here.
And do you have live overlay review? Like
we do not have live overlay, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, the value of the overlay report is you'll notice from time to time DraftKings and FanDuel will launch a new tournament and they'll keep it running on a regular basis, and it's just not filling up, and so it brings it to your attention that, hey, look, it's likely that this tournament is not going to fill up and there is going to be an overlay. The reason we don't have live overlays, it's not as useful as you would think, and we went through this with poker. Overlays usually disappear, and
yeah, I noticed
just because. Yeah, so you look at it and you say, "Wow, this tournament starts in 15 minutes, and there's this huge overlay, and then by the time it starts, it's full, and the only reason you played it is because you thought there's going to be an overlay." And so it's a little bit deceptive. Also,
it happened to me last night in the shot. There was like 30 seconds left, and it was a quarter full. So I was like, all right, cool. I entered like 5 lineups just right into it, like no problem. And then it started, and it was completely full. And I was like, no way. I was like, this thing had like thousands of entries not full, and then it was just full right when it started.
I know. It's because you got somebody waiting to click a button to upload 200 entries. It's just The other reason we don't do live overlay is we really need the permission of the sites to do the live overlay. You could make an argument that the live data from the site is can be considered protected data, and so our years of dealing with this in poker. I'm sorry, what's that?
FanDuel offers it on in their lobby.
Yes. Oh no, well, FanDuel offers it for themselves, but I know there was some issues with Super Lobby lately. I think they had to do more with DraftKings.
Right.
But you could make an argument that real-time data, how many people are signed up for a tournament at that exact second and constantly hitting it, is protected data that you can't use, as opposed to tournament results that are the results of public tournaments. It's unprotected data. Anybody can use it for whatever purpose they want to use it for. It's kind of an esoteric part of IP law, and we're very familiar with it over the last 12 years, having been doing this for poker. And so we've shied away from the live overlay report. At some point, we'll probably wind up doing something like that, particularly if we can get the cooperation from the sites we're going to do it for. So,
cool.
Like I said before, it's not as useful as you'd think. It does sucker you into playing things that you normally wouldn't play, and the overlay evaporates. What's more useful, just to reiterate, is to find particular tournaments, especially recently launched tournaments that are recurring, that just always have an overlay, just because they started running this tournament every Tuesday 3 weeks ago. Nobody really knows about it yet, and it's just consistently having an overlay. In fact, we might even be able to find one on here.
All right, so what I just did is, and we can move on from the overlay report. I think it's really cool. But what I did is I went through the NBA cheat sheet. I locked in a couple of guys and went to my NBA whiteboard. And
Yep.
it's my own little cheat sheet based on the players that I selected. And I think this is just an awesome way to really kind of condense the information you're looking for, and just add a couple players, and then you could remove them if you don't want. But what's the text alerts for?
Okay, so if you if you go to your account page and you enter in your cell phone number, when you put players on your whiteboard, we will send you a text if that player's injury status changes.
Oh, that is sick. Okay.
It is pretty sick. Now we're still perfecting it and we're changing it. It's buried on the whiteboard right now, which is buried under research, because we've kind of cut the whiteboard out of the process of doing optimization. But what will be available here shortly is from your saved lineups page or from the cheat sheet, you will be able to say, send me text alerts on any flagged player, or send me a text alert on anybody that I have in a saved lineup if they're going to be out for the game. And yeah, it's particularly useful for DraftKings where you have late swaps. You just have to know. I mean, if a guy is let's just say Rondo is GTD on a 10:30 game, and look, if he doesn't play, I want Darren Collinson in, but I don't know if he's going to play, and I won't know until 10:15, and so you can just put him on your whiteboard, put your phone number in, and select the receive text alerts, and you'll get a text alert if he's out.
Wow. Yeah. How I would use it is, first of all, if I had a lineup, a couple lineups I was using, I would just lock in everybody there, and just so I get alerts. But what I think would be super useful is, if I want to make a ton of lineups and I have a massive player pool spread amongst a bunch of lineups, I would put everybody in, and I would get an alert and be able to global swap someone out because I got that alert. And I think that's something that no other sites offer.
Yeah, and that's actually what we're moving towards here. So you'll have the option of only send me alerts on players I selected, or send me an alert on any player whose status changes to out before the game starts. And because what we were finding is on the whiteboard, I mean, and I started doing this too, and I would just go down the cheat sheet and I would select any GTD player and just put them on my whiteboard. Let me know if they're going to be out, because there could be an opportunity there. So
can we jump over to the research tab? I just scrolled through the Vegas lines, and right now I'm at defense versus position. And now, can you help me just navigate through this page a little bit?
Sure. Defense versus position. It's this page went up before we actually listed it on the cheat sheet. And so it essentially is saying Philadelphia versus or when centers are playing against Philadelphia. So if I'm looking at the very top here, I'm seeing that Philadelphia on average is giving up 1.14 fantasy points, this is for DraftKings, per minute to centers, which is 12% or 12.59% more favorable to centers than the league average. So a center is essentially, getting more points per minute played versus Philadelphia, because they have an issue, whatever it may be, whatever the reason may be. Furthermore, we break it down by home and away. So it's pretty much the same. But if we look down here at Chicago, and there is some question as to the significance of this data, but it appears that Chicago is much weaker versus centers defensively when they're on the road. Chicago on the road is giving up 13% more fantasy points to centers than they are at home. That may be real. It may be just an anomaly based on small sample sizes.
I think what we can see from this is that it looks like all centers do a little bit worse when they're away. All teams defending the center. If you look at just these top right here, the worst in the league, they all kind of suck when they're away.
Yeah, and our speculation is it has to do with fouls getting called. You get a little bit of a home field advantage. The centers get a little bit more leeway at home than they do on the road. And look, I mean, if I'm the big guy in the middle, or if I'm the center and I get called for a couple early fouls, I'm not going to be as aggressive going forward. And so our speculation is it has to do with home and away foul calling, but it could be anything. I mean,
slept in the hotel bed and he's 7'2", right?
Yeah. Ben, I mean, we had a conversation with a professional football player, offensive lineman, big guy, right? And what is the disadvantage of playing on the road? Is it the crowd noise? And he's like, no, it's not the crowd noise. I mean, we're professionals. We don't care about the crowd noise. It's more when you're on the road, the bed isn't good, the mattress isn't good, you don't get a good night's sleep, the water tastes different, the food tastes different. And, you probably see some of that here in the NBA, especially with the bigger guys too. I mean, it's especially the older guys. I mean, we noted earlier in the season, it looked like Dwight Howard was playing an average of 6 or 7 minutes less in away games versus home games. And, who knows? It could be his 32-year-old body just doesn't do well on the hotel mattress. I mean,
it's important to note, and I guess I just honestly never even pay attention to it until now, and I'm going to force myself to. Yeah. Denver, with such a high altitude, away teams going in there, like, it's gotta affect the big men there. There's no way it doesn't. Even the guards, of course, but they're usually in better shape. But the big men going into Denver, it's got to be tough playing there.
Yeah, it's got to be, and that would be an interesting little analysis to do, is the impact of playing at altitude, by position. It's, it's, well, look, let's go.
Let's keep moving on. Yeah, I like this. Let's go through this research tab. So we got team offense. Let's go through there.
Well, just because we're talking about Denver, let's go to team defense first. The first thing I would do to find out whether or not there's an impact playing in Denver is this is a team defense page. So what we're showing here is we're showing the DVP for the Denver defense. It looks like they struggle a little bit against shooting guards. It shows their next game coming up is versus Atlanta. These are what we call PG1, SG1, SF1. Is essentially the highest salary guy at that position. whether or not they're starting. But if I look down
from
here,
my analysis, it's always been that Denver's been pretty bad versus big guys, and right there it says they're actually decent against centers.
yeah, but if we look a little bit further down here into their recent games, looks like they just had a massive homestand. So here we go against Orlando, at Orlando. I'm not sure who this is going to be. Is that correct? Did Jason Smith have a 43-point game?
Yep.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, they struggled on the road there against centers, but if you look at this homestand here, the starting centers, or the highest salaried center on the opposing team, hasn't really done all that well. They have not made value, at least. So they're,
except for DeMarcus Cousins is 74.
Yeah, I know. It's a different animal, right? It's well, that was at Sacramento. 74 was an away game, but at Denver he was 58, which would not have helped you cash.
Right.
And
so away he played worse, and in Denver it was worse. So I think there's definitely something to say there about, centers playing away and centers in Denver.
Yeah, I would buy into that 100%. So it's in any event, the defense page here allows you to kind of look back over their last several games and see what position is overachieving, and it's kind of all scattered around here for Denver.
Right, so I used to use Fantasy Labs when I was writing my articles and going over my picks, and once they banned me and I stopped using that, now I've been on DFS Gold whenever I do my stuff, and I'm learning so much right now I never even saw. So the analyses are just gonna be so much better. I can't wait to really go through this for the slate.
Yeah, no, hey, look, I mean, it's as we use this, we come up with ideas of, well, wouldn't it be cool to see this? And so then we implement it, and that's kind of how the site grows. I'm going to go to the Denver offense page. Now, the offense page will show the defense versus position for their upcoming game versus the Hawks. But then, more importantly, is I can kind of look down their roster and see who's making value. And for me, more importantly, who makes value together. Occasionally, you'll see 2 players or 3 players that just consistently they either make value together or they don't make value together. And which is always interesting to me to try and find a correlation. Here, don't really see one so much. I mean, it looks like, maybe a little bit of Augustine and Arthur, but who knows what the reason is behind that. So I'd have to drill down a little bit on it. But, you can see, is this guy making value over his last 7 games or is he not? And so it's a interesting snapshot.
That's nice. And so that's the team offense?
This is the team offense.
So at the bottom, indicates a cost per fantasy point of less than 184, average value to cash, and 149 is average value to win. So, okay, so what is it, like a 5x, 6x kind of thing?
Yeah, it is. We take the actual average it takes to win or cash, and so, but it is close to 5x and 6x.
Okay, cool.
I think a good way to remember this, Ben, is 250 cost per point is 4x, 200 is 5x, 166 is 6x, 142 is 7x. So if you can get around 150, you're going to win.
Okay.
That's a good way. I know everybody thinks in the terms of value, and that's the easiest way is know in your head, hey, if I get 166, I'm 6x value.
I'm going to click into a player page really fast just to show what we have here.
Something that I wanted you guys to go through is that chart right there, that graph.
Yes.
I would love to see that explained.
Yeah, so it's originally it was just going to be eye candy, and we actually found out it was pretty useful. Maybe not so much here for Jokic, but the lines, the red line is the cash line based on the average number of points you need to cash versus his salary, and then the yellow line is win line. Is he going to help you win a GPP, or is he going to help you cash in a GPP? Now, what's interesting here is on some of these, if we would have looked at this on the 10th, we'd see Jokic is trending up for whatever reason. Then he had that horrible game. I think that was a game where he got 4 fouls in 6 minutes. But it allows you to kind of see that, how players are trending and whether or not they are consistently helping you win money in your lineup. In fact, let me just pull up a more expensive player here.
I think that is, man, some of these things on the site, they're so cool, and people just need to know about them. I think that's the problem. People need to know about them.
Yeah, we're kind of just building this in front of everybody's eyes, and we haven't really done anything to promote ourselves. And so it's at some point we will.
Yeah, don't worry, not me.
I'm going to pull up DeMarcus Cousins here because obviously one of the elite players. And, I mean, actually, you can see a lot of his data points are in between the two lines here. So he is helping you win money. What you'll see lots of times is you'll see a great player scoring a lot of points, but I mean, unless he's scoring above 58 or 60 points, he's not really helping you.
Right.
He's hurting your lineup because the value, the cost. On the player page, you can go to the did not play page from there. We have his game log with historical salary and points. And then down at the bottom, it's way down at the bottom below it, we have the Google News feed. So if you want to see if there's anything going on with him, it's kind of just an easy way to glance at it. And
we'll scroll back up to the top. I want to see the top right real quick. Can you scroll back up?
Yes.
Okay, so right. Actually, you know what? Let me go on my screen so I could show you exactly what I want to show.
Okay.
I think you can have a Twitter feed with the hashtag of the player's name or something like that, or beat writers or whatever. If you look at my screen, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. This space over here that is it's just white. It's kind of empty to the right of the graph.
Yes.
I don't know what kind of implementation it would take to do that, but if you put a Twitter RSS feed with the player's name as a hashtag, you might be able to come up with some beat writer information, some team news information, starting lineup stuff that will just kind of flow pretty naturally over there.
Yeah, it's in our plans, and we used to do that for poker players. We would just integrate their the actual Twitter account for the poker player into their player page, and you can see what they were posting. And so same thing with MMA fighters, although they didn't tweet as much back then. But yeah, no, it's a great idea, and it's a great way to get real-time information on the player.
Okay, and yeah, I think that could be very useful for you guys, and Twitter is so powerful.
I know.
If you're looking at my screen, can you explain in the did not play analysis right here,
yes,
defense versus position impact? Can you elaborate on exactly what that is?
Yes. So for games, and this is DeMarcus Cousins, and so as you can see up there, he's missed 10 games this season. In those 10 games, this is the defense versus position for that team. So if you look at, so you got overall, which is for the whole season with DeMarcus Cousins. This is for the games that he's played, the DVP information, and without DeMarcus Cousins. So as you can see, they take a hit in front court defense without DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, that's not shocking, I'm sure.
But so with him, they're not that good, but without him, they're awful.
Yes, exactly. And one of the things that you might also want to look at here, I mean, that stands out to me is that because 10 games is a pretty decent sample size, but point guards don't do as good when DeMarcus Cousins is out of the lineup, probably because the front court guys, the big guys, are getting more scoring opportunities. So you're not shooting as much from the outside, or you're not the point guard may not be driving to the basket as much. But
that's interesting because if you look. And in this analysis of just Cousins right here, they're bad against small forwards when they're with him, but when he's out, they're really good against small forwards. And they're like okay against shooting guards. When he's out, they suck against shooting guards. So I think
Yeah.
these numbers right here are very big when it comes to percentages of DVP.
Yeah, and a lot of things could go into this. This is the actual math that we are displaying. These stats are correct. The explanation behind it is open to interpretation. It's sometimes I go back and look at the individual games. I mean, is it the personnel that are being played when he's not in? Is it the other team taking advantage of better matchups when he's not in? It's I mean, so the shooting guard numbers. I mean, it's why is that? It's I can only speculate, and it could just be a fluke. It's only a 10-game sample. I mean, they could have played Golden State and Klay Thompson went off or something and skewed the numbers. But
well, then we could go to what is it? Team defense, right?
Yeah.
And go to Sacramento, and then we could actually look that up, right?
Well, kind of. You would have to know which games he missed, and so this is something once again we'd like to add in the future. A did not play page that showed the defense here. So
right. Well, I mean, all I would have to do is really just kind of keep it open in two tabs per se. So let's
yes.
Let's say I just went to Cousins. I would go here, and then open up defense, and then this is what I do whenever I'm like checking things. I just kind of keep two things open.
Yeah.
Right here. Then I would just go to Sacramento. And guys, I'm just showing you this because this is the kind of stuff that I would literally do. So if you want to see my process, this is how I would do things. So right here, we know that his last 4 missed games are 3-11 versus Orlando. Shooting guard. That's when Oladipo had his monster game, right? So then we could look, okay, well, and then before that, it was February 1st. So February 1st.
Just click on it.
Right here, Milwaukee. Right here, 22. Middleton, he actually had a bad game. So I think it would be safe to say just by looking at those two right there that you can't really depend on the shooting guard correlation much.
Yeah.
Just because of those two last ones that happened that were the most recent. So then I would go do the same thing for the other position. So I think, that's just a simple back test right there that we saw just by looking at this did not play analysis and going with the defense sheet. So you can use multiple sheets here that correlate with each other in order to find out different information before they automate it, of course, or whatever their plans are. But these are the easier way to do things. So, that's the mental process that I would use just looking at this site, figuring out what do I want to know in order to back test my own DVP strategy. So I think it's great that you have at least that information available.
Yeah. I would point out here, if you look at, if you scroll down on the did not play page after DeMarcus Cousins, Kufos, he makes value every single time Cousins doesn't play. He's an automatic play.
Automatic. His minutes go up 66% to 27. His fantasy points go from 13 per game to 26. So that's a 94% increase. So it's basically lock and load there, especially on DraftKings. Now, let's see what FanDuel is. Same thing, you're not getting the same amount of points just scoring wise, but it's obvious that Kufos, when he's out, you just lock and load. Like that's Cauley Stein, it's not that great of a play, it seems like. So if you had to decide between the two for like a utility spot, you would go with Kufos. And that's just looking at this site. So you got some great stuff here, man. You guys really do.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So is there anything that you think you will be adding, or are there any announcements or product developments that you would like to share with us? And if you can stop sharing the screen now. I'd like to know what maybe we have in store for the future for DFS Gold, and and what we can expect, and maybe the kind of information you guys are going to be putting out. Because I'm definitely excited for at least to see MLB.
There you go. You got us back.
Yep.
Yeah, so, look, right now, this weekend, we're launching the NASCAR Optimizer. We mentioned that earlier. You should try that, actually. It works really, really well, because the advantage that you get in NASCAR is it's really structural, based on their point scoring system, and it's not that difficult to figure out. But the NASCAR Optimizer should be up after qualifying for NASCAR on Friday evening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be out. We also have our new NASCAR cheat sheet up right now on player pages and so forth. And then we're going to be looking to move into baseball, which I understand is your favorite.
Love it.
Correct, Ben? So did you look at our site last year for baseball?
I just recently found you guys a couple months ago. So no, I've only known it for basketball. I'm really excited to see what you have. Me and George were talking about it a little earlier, and I think I could actually help contribute to your baseball and the different advanced stats that I have and that I know. So yeah, I'd love to work with you guys on that and help out in any way that I can, because baseball definitely is a DFS specialty of mine, and not even because I know the sport, but I know the stats, and I think that's very important when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, it's look, it's we put out the cheat sheets are a little different for baseball. They'll be up here by the time the season starts, but we look at team stacking and separating pitchers from hitters. How the optimizer is going to manifest itself, we haven't decided yet, but I would encourage anybody that is interested in MLB. We have a really good piece that explains the value of stacking in baseball on our site. If you go under the baseball MLB tab and go to tips and strategy, we break down for DraftKings and FanDuel the number of lineups that of all the winners last year and all the GPPs, the percentage that had 5-person stacks, 4-person stacks, and so forth, and the difference in productivity by spot in the batting order. And it's an interesting little analysis that we did. So
that's awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Guys, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do this interview with me and just really showing everybody your site and all the incredible information you have. So once again, it's George and Eddy from dfsgold.com. They are at dfsgold1 on Twitter. And guys, if you'd like to say your goodbyes, and then I'm going to call you right back after this once we're done.
Yeah, hey, we appreciate you having us, Ben. It's thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate what you're doing out there. Obviously found out on Twitter and seen some of the things you've done to help other people. And that's important, because we want this industry to go for a long time. And I'm going to add one little quick thing about our site. The search box, this is for guys playing H2Hs. If a guy comes after you, or you're looking for a head-to-head, search the player in the search box to see what his ranking is. So if a guy's 485,000th place, play him. If the guy's in 15th place, don't play him in the H2Hs.
Right.
Call it a shark hunter, whatever.
Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Great.
Take it easy. Thanks again.
No problem.